Welcome to episode 4. Today, Dad, we're going to Saulborg, where, toward the end of the 1st century AD, the Romans took control of parts of Free Germania east of the Rhine. Their borderline, the Limes, ran for about 550 kilometers across southwestern Germany. The Saulborg Pass was a natural crossing point from the plains of the Main River to the settlement region of the Germanic tribes. Approximately 150 soldiers controlled the important route over the Taunus. The Limes, which ran along the Taunus Ridge, was initially a simple patrol path surveyed by timber watchtowers. Around AD 135, about 480 foot soldiers and 120 cavalrymen converted the old timber fort into a larger fort with a wall built from a solid combination of stone and timber beams. At the middle of the 2nd century, the fort was expanded and rebuilt in stone. During this period, the old timber watchtowers were also replaced by stone towers along the Limes. A large bathhouse, an inn, shrines, and other official buildings provide evidence of the improved living standards enjoyed by those who dwelt here. Around AD 200, the village reached its greatest extent. Its population peaked at about 2,000 people. The V-shaped ditches in front of the walls served as an obstacle to attack. They were never filled with water. Their V-shaped profile is typical of Roman defensive ditches and is also seen along the Limes. The main gate, the Porta Praetoria, is located on the south side of the fort. Between the two gates, a bronze statue of Emperor Antoninus Pius greets today's visitor. In Roman times, a sandstone statue of Mars, the god of war, probably stood on this spot. Only the legs of that statue survive, and they can be seen in the exhibit in the Horium. The battlements of the fort, with a total length of about 730 meters, are visible from a great distance through the trees. In Roman times, the walls would have been coated with white plaster and then painted with red mortar seams to imitate fine stonework. Around the mid-1st century AD, a standard layout for military installations emerged. It was found all over the Roman Empire and survived into late antiquity. A soldier could quickly find his way around in any new fort to which his unit might be transferred. The forts were rectangular with rounded corners, shaped as a rule like a playing card. The Horium, the fort's double granary, is located just inside the Porta Praetoria. Grain was stored as a primary foodstuff and the most important of all the provisions issued to Roman troops. At present, the granary serves as an exhibit room containing many original Roman finds that illustrate varied aspects of daily life. A large bathing complex was located in front of the fort, slightly off to one side of the main gate. The bathhouse was built around AD 130 and remained in operation up to about AD 260. It was customary to follow a sequence from hot to cold, so one began with a sweat bath, then perhaps lingered in walled tubs filled with hot water, and finally a cold pool. The hot air that heated the floors was generated by a furnace in the boiler room outside the building and passed through channels in the hypocaust. The bathhouse had glass windows, and its interior was lavishly decorated with murals. Many of the artifacts found on site were at the bottom of wells, which were filled with trash as new wells were dug and old ones were no longer used. The Celts and Romans were the first in Central Europe to use iron tools. In fact, many have hardly changed over the centuries. Window glass was invented in the Roman Empire during the 1st century AD, perhaps in Rome itself. It spread quickly through the empire and had an extraordinary effect on European architecture. Roman shoes varied in style. The materials used to make Roman shoes were predominantly leather, although wood was sometimes used to make clogs and fibers to make sandals. The majority of the ceramic finds are wheel-thrown Roman pottery for everyday use. The discovery of 2 pottery kilns shows that ceramics were made locally as well as imported. Some of the vessels bear a potter's stamp. This is the Fabrica, the Roman workshop. The workshops in the Limes forts assured a constant supply of military equipment to the troops. In 1907, 7 Roman portrait busts created from around 50 BC to 240 AD were acquired at the request of Kaiser Wilhelm II. Excavated in 2009 from the bottom of a 30-foot well under 8 heavy millstones and other junk, this life-size horse head made of bronze and covered in gold in Wildgömmis, a 9-hour walk from Saulburg, has been used by archaeologists as evidence of Romans living next to and trading with Germanic people peacefully for years. Here are the remains of the massive walls of a single room with a very well-preserved underfloor heating system. Heating channels run crosswise directly under the floor, and a duct which passes below the room's exterior wall is connected to the furnace outside and meets them at the center point where the channels cross in the center. The floor of this building rested on substantial stone pillars. The air that circulated between the pillars kept the floor dry. The style of construction suggests that this was likely a storehouse for provisions. During excavations in and around the fort, close to 100 wells were discovered. A slate labeled with Roman numerals identifies each one. These wells were not all in operation at the same time. During the 170 years of the Roman presence, old wells were abandoned and new ones dug. The large number of wells can be explained by the fact that no source of flowing water exists on the Saulborg Pass, so all the water for the garrison of the fort had to be supplied by wells. The Saulburg civilian settlement was made up of long rectangular dwellings known to archaeologists as strip houses. Of these buildings, only the original walls of the cellars survive. In addition to stores and workshops, there were taverns, public buildings, a heated bathhouse, and an inn.
Threats to the Rome border region reached their peak around 260 AD. The Germanic Alemanni repeatedly invade and plunder the frontier provinces. The Limes is finally abandoned for good, and with it, the Saalburg. The fort is destroyed, the village deserted. With the last soldiers to leave the Saalburg, more than 1.5 centuries of Roman rule in the Taunus and Wetterau comes to an end. The Roman world power retreats to the banks of the Rhine and Danube rivers. It will take another century until these borders fall.
Happy birthday, Dad. I hope you loved Saulborg.